Imagine firing an employee because they were, just too perfect.
Right. Which sounds completely counterintuitive.
Yeah, exactly. Because their kitchen was too clean, their metrics were too high, and honestly, they just cared too much.
Right.
Today, we're exploring why extreme professional success is, well, sometimes it's actually the ultimate psychological red flag.
It really can be.
Because we usually talk about building a career, like, building a house. You lay a foundation, you frame the walls, you construct something stable.
Yeah, you point to the resume and you see this perfect blueprint of a successful life.
But what happens when that blueprint is completely inverted?
Well, you end up with, like, a structural illusion. I mean, from the outside, sure, you see peak performance.
Yeah.
But inside, the foundation is actively crumbling.
Right, it's collapsing under the weight of this totally unsustainable coping mechanism. And that dynamic is really the entire mission of our deep dive today for you listening.
Exactly.
We are focusing intensely on Chapter 12 from the Tularosa Perimeter, a forensic reconstruction.
Which is such a heavy, fascinating chapter.
It really is. We're going to trace the story of this man, Alexander Thorne, following his meteoric rise to general manager of a pizza franchise in Maryland.
And sadly, we'll track how that exact rise led to just a massive, agonizing psychological breakdown.
Yeah. Okay, so let's unpack this. By the year 2008, Thorne is, well, he's rotating between stores in Severna Park, Glen Burnie, Pasadena.
Right, bouncing all over.
And he is fixing food cost variances and labor overages with this, just this ruthless efficiency.
Yeah. But to really grasp what is actually happening in those kitchens, we have to establish the psychological stakes for Thorne.
Right. Where is he coming from?
Well, he was a combat engineer in Bosnia. His actual job was clearing minefields.
Wow.
So now he has transitioned to civilian food service, but he essentially brought that life-or-death operating procedure with him.
He didn't leave it behind.
Not at all. He is using this rigid military-style control to mask profound, untreated trauma.
Right. And the modern corporate structure, it doesn't possess the nuance to see a man in pain, does it?
No, of course not. It just sees a highly profitable output.
Exactly. His early success is so extreme that it almost it demands applause from the higher-ups.
Oh, they loved him.
Let's look at his inspection score at the Ritchie Highway store. He gets a 98.
Which is wild.
Yeah, that is nearly impossible in high-volume food service. During a manager meeting at franchise headquarters, the regional manager actually describes Thorne's make line as military grade.
Right. They're marveling at how he gets the crew to clean the floor grout so perfectly.
Yeah. And I think what's fascinating here is that his philosophy in that moment is just incredibly revealing.
It really is. Thorne states, and this is a quote, "Dirt is a variable. We eliminate variables. If the environment is chaotic, the mind is chaotic."
Wow, that's intense for a pizza place.
Right. But consider what corporate management structures actually provide for someone with his specific psychological profile.
Okay,
Well, you have strict checklists, standardized uniforms, exact measurements, where, cheese is weighed down to the 10th of an ounce.
So it's totally predictable.
Exactly. For a man who witnessed the horrifying consequences of a single unpredictable misstep in a minefield, a chaotic environment is fundamentally terrifying.
Oh, I see. So the franchise system offered him a defensible perimeter.
Yes. By controlling the grout and the cheese weights, he could simulate control over his own internal terror.
Wait, I want to play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Sure.
Let's look at this from the perspective of corporate leadership.
Right.
The franchise owner, Mr. Henderson, he absolutely loves this performance.
Well, he eats it up.
Right. He leans back, calls Thorne their top performer, and tells him to literally bottle it.
Yeah.
So isn't this just what excellent management looks like? If I own a restaurant and my manager is hyper-vigilant about quality control, I'm thrilled.
Of course you are.
Right. Why pathologize a guy who is just really, really good at his job? Is there actually a difference between a top-tier manager and someone masking trauma if the quarterly metrics look exactly the same?
And that is the dangerous gray area where corporate systems operate. The metrics might be identical for a while, but the underlying mechanism is entirely different.
How so?
Well, a healthy top-tier manager optimizes for efficiency and profit, right? They want to do a good job, and then they go home and, they disconnect.
They watch TV, they relax.
Exactly. Thorne is optimizing for psychological survival. He isn't trying to increase profit margins. He is literally trying to prevent a mental collapse.
Oh, wow. So he's treating a civilian kitchen like a nuclear submarine protocol.
Yes. The franchise thinks they're just handling a Friday night pizza rush, but Thorne is fighting a war. And the human nervous system simply cannot maintain a high-alert, fight-or-flight physiological panic over, like, a delayed pepperoni delivery indefinitely.
It's totally unsustainable.
Completely.
Mm-hmm.
But the corporate machine optimizes for the metric, and it is utterly blind to the biological cost of how that metric is achieved.
And the machine rewards that metric with even more responsibility.
Right.
Right.
They promote him.
Yeah. In 2010, Thorne is selected to be the general manager of a brand new store in Odenton.
A huge step up.
But he doesn't treat this like opening a neighborhood restaurant. He treats it like establishing a forward operating base.
That's a great way to put it.
He's standing in the empty shell of this building, wearing a hard hat, fiercely arguing with the contractors.
About the oven loader, right?
Yes. He demands exactly 3 feet of clearance for the oven loader, and it has nothing to do with aesthetics.
No, it's pure logistics for him.
Right. He calculates that if the loader can't pivot perfectly, the seconds lost will compound, efficiency drops, and basically the perimeter weakens.
Right. He is attempting to engineer a physical space where surprise is mathematically impossible.
Wow.
He wants to design the human error out of the equation. But, the fatal flaw in that design is that a pizza franchise requires actual human beings to operate it.
And not just any human beings. Teenagers.
Exactly. High school kids.
He has to staff this highly engineered environment with a platoon of 16-year-olds making minimum wage.
Which is just a recipe for disaster.
Totally. And here's where it gets really interesting. I mean, imagine being a high school kid, taking your first job just to earn some gas money, and your manager is pacing the make line like a drill sergeant.
Barking orders.
Yeah. Thorne is barking at these kids about structural integrity.
Over pizza dough.
Right. He insists they edge-lock the crust, explaining that if the sauce bleeds, the cheese slides. If the cheese slides, the customer complains. If the customer complains, the mission fails.
He is mapping life-or-death combat consequences onto incredibly mundane tasks.
Yeah, and there's this interaction with a new hire named Jason that just perfectly captures this disconnect.
Oh, I love this part. Or, well, it's tragic, but it's very revealing.
Right. Jason is clearly overwhelmed. He raises his hand and says, Mr. Thorne, it's just a pizza.
The most rational thing to say in that moment.
Totally. But Thorne stops, stares at this teenager with just absolute intensity, and says, nothing is just anything, Jason. Detail is the difference between a secure perimeter and a breach.
Nothing is just anything. I mean, that is such a heavy burden to place on a minimum wage kitchen line.
It's massive.
It reveals how businesses frequently utilize war metaphors. We talk about being in the trenches or capturing market share or targeting demographics.
Sure, we hear that all the time.
Right, and for most employees, those are just motivational cliches. But for Thorne, the pizza wasn't a metaphor.
It was real.
It was the only armor he had against the total chaos of his past. He was attempting to draft high school kids into a high-stakes tactical operation over pepperoni placement. Because if they failed to hold that line, his internal armor cracked.
It's like an autoimmune response, right?
Yes, exactly.
The hypervigilance was like a white blood cell meant to protect him in a combat zone, but now he's in a civilian kitchen with no real threats.
Right, there's no actual enemy.
So the hypervigilance has nothing to fight, and it just starts attacking the healthy tissue of his own life.
That's a perfect analogy.
He is demanding these teenagers hold a military perimeter, which is obviously impossible.
Impossible.
And it becomes even more impossible when we look at the physical toll the general manager role demands. We are really looking at a brutal war of attrition here.
And attrition requires time and relentless friction. Thorne is thrust into these 70-hour work weeks.
The friction never stops. I mean, the physical reality of the job means constant intrusions.
Right. His phone is always ringing.
Exactly. The store alarm trips at 2 a.m. The security company calls his cell phone. The dough delivery arrives short at 6 a.m. The morning prep cook calls him.
He never actually goes off duty.
Never. Let's dig into the biology of what this does to a person, because the chronic, severe sleep deprivation acts as a massive accelerant for his underlying trauma.
Oh, absolutely.
He carries this neurological scar from his military service, a cicada sound in his head.
Yeah, the tinnitus.
Right. It used to be a manageable, low hum, but under the crush of these 70-hour weeks, it escalates into an absolute shriek.
Yeah, and we really need to understand the mechanism of sleep deprivation here.
Break that down for us.
Well, when a person fails to get sufficient REM sleep, the brain essentially loses its ability to properly regulate the amygdala, which is the fear center.
Okay.
In healthy sleep cycles, the brain processes emotional memories and files them away as past events. But without that recovery time, traumatic memories remain in the active present danger queue.
Oh, so his brain thinks the danger is happening right now.
Exactly. The cicada sound is tinnitus, sure, often linked to hearing damage from explosives, but its volume and intensity are tied directly to his central nervous system distress.
That sounds like torture.
It is. His brain is losing the biochemical ability to filter out external and internal noise. So the rigid structural environment he built to protect himself is now the exact mechanism torturing his nervous system.
And that internal collapse, it bleeds into the physical world during a chaotic Friday rush.
It was bound to happen.
Right. Mike, the director of operations, walks into the Odenton store expecting to see this military-grade machine running smoothly.
Right.
Instead, he finds Thorne hiding in the back office, just with his head in his hands.
Yeah, completely shut down.
3 delivery drivers called out sick. Thorne confesses he cannot go out on the make line. He can't clear the computer screens because the mechanical noise of the ticket printer is literally paralyzing him.
The noise is just too much.
Right, and he asks for a demotion. He tells Mike, I need to step back. I can't hold the command post anymore. The perimeter is too big.
Which demonstrates this tragic level of self-awareness. I mean, he recognizes his own psychological failure.
He does.
And the corporate response is, well, it's pragmatic. They grant the demotion, transferring him back to the Severna Park store as an hourly assistant manager to theoretically reduce his stress levels.
So wait, if he's stepping down to an hourly role where he doesn't have to manage the whole store, shouldn't his stress go down? I mean, why didn't that work? He lowered his hours, he gave up the command post. Why didn't the psychological slide stop?
Because stepping down was only a tactical retreat.
Okay.
The structural damage to his neurobiology was already deeply ingrained. You just cannot subject a traumatized nervous system to years of 70-hour hyper-vigilant marathons, literally break the brain's regulatory functions, and then simply unflip the switch by changing a job title.
The damage is already done.
Exactly. The environment had already exacerbated the complex trauma way past the point of casual recovery.
And we see the harrowing proof of that permanent damage on just a random Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, this is so hard to read.
It really is. Thorne is performing the most mundane task possible, cutting a pepperoni pizza. Suddenly, his chest tightens up. The room visibly tilts for him. His left arm goes completely numb. He drops the pizza cutter, convinced he is having a massive heart attack or experiencing a chemical weapon attack.
Right, and he stumbles into the walk-in cooler, just gasping for air, profoundly disoriented.
Trying to cool down, right?
Yeah, the cold air provides a physical shock, but his brain is actively struggling to determine if he is in Maryland or back in a conflict zone.
And when he visits the doctor the following day, they run an EKG, and his heart is completely fine.
Physically, his heart is perfect.
The diagnosis is panic disorder.
Right, and let's break down why that happens. A panic attack is the nervous system firing massive, overwhelming fight-or-flight signals in the complete absence of an active threat.
The alarms are going off, but there's no fire.
Exactly. His body is dumping adrenaline and cortisol into his bloodstream, but the building isn't on fire. His physiology is responding to the cumulative chronic stress of the corporate environment as if it were still an active combat zone.
Wow. And he receives a prescription, right?
He does. He begins therapy sessions. He is desperately trying to patch the hull of his mind, but honestly, the water has already flooded the lower decks.
The defenses are fully eroded, and that brings us to November 2012.
The climax of all of this.
We arrive at the catastrophic collision between his frayed nervous system and the high-stress, high-volume reality of a corporate kitchen.
Right.
It's a Friday night rush. The make-line screen is entirely full of orders just scrolling off the edge.
Pure chaos.
The sensory input is at maximum capacity. Phones are ringing constantly, delivery drivers are shouting directions over each other, and that massive industrial oven fan is humming relentlessly.
What's so loud?
Thorne is stationed at the cut table, acting as the final checkpoint for every pizza coming out of the oven.
So he is standing at the epicenter of a sensory nightmare, highly vulnerable to any sudden disruption.
And the trigger, when it happens, is agonizingly minor.
It really is.
A new delivery driver, a kid who hasn't learned Thorne's strict rules about perimeter control and personal space brushes past the cut table.
Just walking by.
Yeah, he accidentally bumps into Thorne's shoulder and casually mutters, "Watch out, man."
And that minor physical contact acts as an immediate spark. It completely bypasses his prefrontal cortex, the logical part of his brain, and strikes the limbic system directly, triggering his somatic flashback.
Okay, wait. what exactly is a somatic flashback in this context? How does that differ from just, remembering something awful?
That's a great question. Narrative memory is when you recall a story from your past. Somatic memory is when your body physically relives the sensations of the past event as if it is happening in the current moment.
Oh, wow.
So when the driver bumps his shoulder, Thorne doesn't just think about his time in Bosnia. His nervous system instantly reacts as if he is standing in a crowded market where an unseen individual might be wearing a suicide vest.
That is terrifying.
It is.
Hmm.
The internal cicada scream spikes to 115 decibels in his mind. He literally feels the physical walls of the kitchen closing in. His body dictates that he is in immediate mortal danger.
And the reaction is explosive.
Unstoppable, really.
The tightly coiled aggression that he had channeled into, perfectly clean grout and perfectly weighed cheese for years, it just erupts.
Yeah.
Thorne roars at the teenage driver, "Back off." He kicks a 50-gallon industrial trash can with such immense force that it launches completely across the room, slamming violently into the wall.
Just a massive display of force.
He screams for everyone to get away from him, spins around, and shoves a huge stack of heavy dough trays. They topple over and crash onto the tile floor like thunder.
And that outward physical destruction perfectly mirrors his complete internal collapse.
Yeah.
The defensible perimeter he spent years building has officially fallen.
The aftermath described in the reconstruction is just haunting.
Yeah.
The kitchen goes dead silent, the oven fan is still humming, but no one is moving.
Everyone is just in shock.
The high school kids, the drivers, the prep cooks, they are all frozen in terror. Thorne is standing in the center of the wreckage, chest heaving, fists clenched.
Taking it all in.
He looks down at the spilled dough and the overturned trash can, and the adrenaline recedes just enough for him to realize he is looking at the absolute ruins of his civilian life.
It's heartbreaking.
So, what does this all mean for you listening? Think about the devastating irony here.
It's so ironic.
The very corporate environment that gave him a rigid framework to organize his chaotic mind, the structure that gave him purpose and praised his military precision, was the exact mechanism that ground him down until he shattered.
Exactly. It exposes a deeply parasitic relationship. The system extracted his hypervigilance for profit. They praised it as excellence, and then they offered zero support when the biological bill for that hypervigilance came due.
None at all.
We see the ultimate coldness of this dynamic the very next morning. Thorne is called into a sterile back office.
Right.
Sitting across from him are Mr. Henderson, the franchise owner, and the district manager. Keep in mind, Henderson is the man who previously marveled at Thorne's military-grade kitchen lines and told him to bottle his perfection.
Yeah, the guy who loved him. But now, sitting in that office, they don't see a wounded veteran suffering from a severe somatic flashback.
No, they don't.
They don't see a human being whose nervous system was crushed under the weight of 70-hour weeks in their service. They just see a massive liability.
That's all it is to them.
They see an employee who damaged company equipment and created a hostile work environment for the teenage staff.
Because the corporate machine possesses zero tolerance for the messy reality of the human condition.
Right.
They hand him a separation notice. Thorne places his store keys on the desk and whispers, "I tried to hold the line."
Oh, man.
And Henderson looks at him and coldly replies, "The line is gone, Alex."
This is brutal.
He is terminated immediately. Corporate structures will eagerly consume a worker's trauma-driven productivity. They will gladly accept your obsessive perfectionism and your inability to disconnect.
Oh, absolutely.
But they will ruthlessly discard you the exact moment the psychological cost of that productivity becomes visible on their floor.
It is a staggering vertical drop. I mean, in a matter of minutes, Thorne goes from being the ultimate corporate asset, the absolute blueprint of a successful manager, to being completely unemployed.
Everything is gone.
The title, the daily structure, the income, it is all wiped out. He walks out into the parking lot with nothing but the silence of an uncertain future, carrying a nervous system that is permanently frayed from attempting to turn a Maryland pizza franchise into a military fortress.
And I think this raises an important question, right? One regarding how modern business defines a quote-unquote good worker.
Yeah, what does that even mean?
Well, we frequently elevate traits that are fundamentally unhealthy.
Oh, totally.
The inability to log off, the obsessive micromanagement of minor details, the willingness to sacrifice sleep and personal health for operational metrics, these are so often celebrated as ambition and dedication.
We call them rock stars.
Exactly. But in many cases, as with Alexander Thorne, they are glaring symptoms of distress. We're not always rewarding healthy professional drive. Sometimes we are simply monetizing someone's desperate need to maintain control over their own internal terror.
Yeah. To recap this tragic trajectory for you listening, we watched a man take the heaviest, most agonizing burdens of his military trauma and essentially weaponize them for corporate profit.
Right.
Management acted as a suffocating trap. They built him up and promoted him. When his hyper-vigilance generated revenue, they pushed his physiology to the absolute brink with relentless 70-hour work weeks.
Relentless.
And the very second his mental defenses shattered under their imposed weight, they fired him for making a mess.
It's just so callous, and this extends far beyond the specifics of a pizza franchise in Maryland.
Definitely.
When you evaluate your own industry, your own office culture, how often do you see leaders celebrating those rock star employees?
The ones who are the first to arrive and the last to leave?
Right. The ones who never drop a single ball, who treat every minor project delay like it's a life or death crisis.
Yeah, we all know someone like that.
Are those individuals truly thriving, or are they burning themselves to the ground to outrun their own anxieties?
It certainly forces a re-examination of that architectural metaphor we started with.
It really does.
We want to believe that extreme professional success is a clear, visible indicator of a rock-solid foundation. But sometimes the most perfectly constructed building, the one with the most rigid, flawless exterior, is the one hiding the deepest structural flaws.
Absolutely.
So we leave you with this lingering thought to ponder long after we wrap up today's deep dive.
Think about it.
If our modern work culture fundamentally rewards obsessive, trauma-driven behaviors, praising us with promotions and bonuses when we eliminate all human variables at the absolute cost of our own physical and mental health, are we actually building successful careers?
Or are we doing something else entirely?
Right. Or are we just slowly, methodically engineering the blueprints for our own eventual breakdowns?